What's going on, guys? We are back with another playoff scenarios, this time for the Oceania region. League play ends this weekend, so their league play has not ended yet. So their rules are a little bit different. So I first wanted to go over that. So the rules for them, top 4 move on to PAX playoffs. And another thing, my mic is better now. We're back at home doing this one. So top 4 move on to PAX playoffs. It's a double elimination playoff. So honestly, in a 4-team double elim, very similar to the promotion tournament, seeding doesn't matter that much. Unless you, like, the one way I would see it is you probably actually kind of want one of the best teams early. Because if you get them in the first round where they're not ready, they're not used to it, then you might be able to get a sneak win off them. So honestly, I think in a way it might be better to have a lower seed if you're going to have to battle one of those teams anyway. Because either way, you're going to have to play them if everything goes the right way. The other option, obviously, is to avoid them, like avoid the best team, and hope that they get upset by a worse team that you can also beat. There is that option, sure. But for the most part, I would say seeding doesn't matter too much for a double elim. So we're just going to focus on them making the top 4, because there's obviously a lot different from ours, where there's top 2 and top 6 possibilities. Their tiebreakers are different as well. If 2 teams are tied, it's head-to-head. If 3 teams are tied, it goes to game win percentage, then head-to-head. Technically, it goes game differential, then game win percentage, but that's the same exact rule, because if game differential is the same, then that's the only way that it'll go down to the game win percentage percentage next. So we'll just say game win percentage, because it's just easier. And then it goes to head-to-head after that, if need be. Let's move on. First, we'll start near the bottom. So the standings right now, let me get that up. I won't put it on screen, but just let me do that first so you guys know where everyone sits. Okay. So right now we have Chiefs in first, 4-1. Jam Gaming 4-1. Pale Horse 4-2. Sylia 3-2. Conspiracy 3-3. Legacy 2-3. Avant 2-4. And then Nazi Isn't Toxic is 0-6. They're out. So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So first we have Avant Gaming sitting in 7th right now at 2-4. They only have 1 game left. And the highest that they can reach is 4th. Also, very unlikely that they make playoffs. They need to win, but they also need Conspiracy plus Sylia plus Legacy to lose all their games. So Conspiracy, they have 1 game. Sylia has 2 games, and then Legacy, they have 2 games, but one of them is against Avant, so if they are getting the win, they only need Legacy to lose their other game. That's a lot to happen, but that's how they would get 4th place. Simple as that. So that's all they need. Nice and easy. Once again, with these scenarios, since there are a little bit different rules, I'll say I missed something, throw it in the comments below. I know Nathan Allen, he's probably watching. I use his program a lot to check out all the scenarios. He'll probably correct me if something's wrong, because he also does these, I think, as well. So shout out to him. But let's move on to Legacy eSports. Highest they can get is 2nd. They are sitting right now at 2-3. So they can get a 2nd place with a 4-3 finish, but would obviously need some help. So if they get 2 wins, they would also need Pale Horse Esports to get swept. That's one of their scenarios at 2 wins. So pretty much every scenario where they get 2 wins, they still need a little bit of help. The other scenario is 2 wins, plus they need Nazi Isn't Toxic to beat Sylia, and then they will also get in. 2 wins and Sylia to also get 2 wins, they will get in, which is why it starts getting a little confusing here. And then 1 win will also get them in, plus Sylia and Conspiracy to lose all their games. So the one thing they don't want really is they actually have a pretty good game win percentage going on right now. So right now they're sitting at 2-3, but they're at 52.38 winning percentage. So say they win both their games, they would like more people tied with them. That actually helps them. In certain cases, they might want some other things to happen, but generally, they want that to happen. For some reason, I'm thinking that the Sylia one is wrong. Let me just double check, because that shouldn't be the case. So I think for some reason they would want Sylia tied with them, but It works out. So I don't know. But for the most part, they want multiple teams tied with them. And if they do get into one of those where there's only one other 4-3 team between the 4th and 5th spot, which again is kind of unlikely, but it can happen. Then that's where they could get in trouble if they didn't beat that team. But there's a lot of cases where that doesn't really happen for them. But one of those cases is Conspiracy and Pale Horse. They play each other. If Conspiracy wins, then they would go up to 4-3, while Pale Horse would also move up to 4-3. So that's a case where if they get swept, they make sure they stay ahead in all their tiebreakers. But if not, then it could come down to tiebreakers, and they could lose out. Like if they win 3-2, 3-2 Legacy, I'm saying, and Pale Horse does not get swept, that creates a 3-way tie at 4-3, but Pale Horse will get that win percentage higher and move on up. So that's like the one team they have to be careful about with win percentage. And of course, if like one of the other teams falls down to them, Jam or Chiefs, but usually that'll be an extra spot in the top, so it won't matter. They're mostly worrying about teams coming up from below them. So that's one of the ways that they can be eliminated. But they're looking pretty decent, so they shouldn't have to worry too much about that. Next up, we'll go to Conspiracy. So Conspiracy, they only have one game left, I believe. Yes, one game left. The highest they can get is 3rd. They must win. They're playing Pale Horse. They need Sylia not to go 1-1. Now, the thing is with Pale Horse, I should have 2 of these open so I can keep this win percentage, but I keep having to use the program to put the zeros back. They have a really bad win percentage. Conspiracy right now, sitting at 3-3, they're 43.48% win percentage. They're 10-13. So even if they 3-0, the highest they can get is a 50 winning percentage. So it's not looking that good for 3-way ties or multiple ties. So they actually want head-to-head ties. If they beat Pale Horse, they basically want no one else to tie them, so they can just take that spot in the head-to-head victory. Once it becomes a tie, they cannot beat Pale Horse. So that's what they're worried about. They don't want anyone else to tie, like a 3-way tie, because then Pale Horse will beat them in win percentage no matter what, because Pale Horse is sitting at a 60% winning percentage at 15-10. So the worst that they can do is go down to 15-13. They will stay higher than Conspiracy no matter what. So Conspiracy really wants to beat Pale Horse, but then have no one else tie them is their main goal. So they need to win. They need Sylia not to go 1-1, because if Sylia goes 1-1, they would tie them. They need Legacy not to go 2-0, plus Jam not to go 0-2. So again, Legacy sitting at 2-3, they don't want them coming up to 4-3 as well. They also don't want Jam Gaming to come down to them and go 0-2. Same with Chiefs, I think, as well. If Chiefs also go 0-2, it's the same scenario. I just didn't put them in there for some reason. Or let me see. Yeah, I think that works out. So, well, actually, yeah, whatever. But that's the main thing for Conspiracy. They need to beat Pale Horse, and it'll put them in the run-in. They'll be at 4-3, but they just need no one else to tie them at that spot, or else they are screwed. So that's what Conspiracy is hoping for. They can make it if side does go 1-1, depends on win percentage. They can beat Sylia. I call him Sy a lot, but because if Sylia doesn't get a great win percentage, Sylia could fall behind them in the win percentage column. Because if they go 1-1, right now they're sitting at a 50% win percentage. They could fall below that, and then we could see Conspiracy moving on from that. So one thing to keep in mind for Conspiracy, there is one team they can beat in a 3-way tie scenario, but it is not Pale Horse, the team they have to play. Next up, Sylia. Highest they can get is first. They are sitting right now at 3-2. So 2 wins, they can get first. They would need some other things to go their way, but we're not, again, worried about that because seeding for top 4 really doesn't matter all that much. We're just worried about them making it to the playoff at PAX. If they get 1 win, they would need a Conspiracy loss plus Legacy to lose 1 game, and they would automatically get it. Or 1 win plus Legacy gets 2 wins if no one else is tied with them. So again, this is one of those weird scenarios where if Sylia gets 1 win and Legacy gets 2, they would both sit at that 4 and 3, which means they would want Pale Horse to be Conspiracy, so that moves them out of the way. Sylia beat Legacy earlier in the year, so then they would work out from that. So that's what they're worried about there. It's confusing for sure, but it's the way it is, you know? It's the way of life. With the head-to-head coming first and then not. So, yeah, Sylia beat Legacy earlier in the year, so they want to tie them. But, again, they don't have a great win percentage. And Legacy, if they do get 2 more wins, will have a great win percentage. So, that's the only way they want Legacy to get 2 wins. No one else can be tied with them, which is mostly talking about Pale Horse versus Conspiracy. They would need Pale Horse to beat Conspiracy to keep everyone else away from the tie. That's pretty much all they would need. So, tiebreakers, fun. Next up, we'll go to Pale Horse and Jam Gaming. They're both sitting up there pretty. Pale Horse 4 and 2, Jam Gaming 4 and 1. Highest both of them can get first. Pale Horse, they just need 1 win, or they just need Sylia to lose 1 game, or they just need Legacy to lose 1 game, and they are in. Simple as that. Again, they're in that situation where they don't want anyone else. They want someone else to actually tie them. If Conspiracy does beat them, then they would want another tie. So if Sylia ties them, that would be nice. If Sylia gets 1 loss and 1 win, that would still help them. But if Sylia gets 2 wins, it moves them out of that whole situation. And then they would have to worry about that. Legacy would also get a really high win percentage if they get 2 wins. So that's a possibility. Even through that tiebreaker, I believe, again, some of these get a little confusing. So now I'm double checking them just to make sure. But I believe that is correct. Let me see here. So Legacy would move ahead of them. Conspiracy would then fall down, but they would need Sylia to also lose a game. So yeah, pretty simple for Pale Horse. There's probably a couple other small scenarios in there, but we're trying to keep it to most things. But again, Pale Horse, even if they lose the Conspiracy, most likely there will be someone else that ties them, and then they will get in scot-free. Next up, Jam Gaming, or as James likes to say, Jam Gaming. Highest first. They just need 1 win. They have 2 games, though, so that's pretty nice. Pale Horse only has 1 game. And if Pale Horse loses 3-1, they get in, based on various tiebreakers. Or if Sylia loses once, they're in. Or if Legacy loses once, they're in. Jam Gaming has the highest win percentage so far in the league at 14 and 5. They're 73.68%. So if they do wind up getting in 3-way ties at 4 and 3, they're looking pretty. They do have 2 games left, so they could, like, that win percentage could fall relatively quickly, but in most cases, if not all cases, if they were tied, a 3-way tie at 4 and 3, they would make it in. So Jam Gaming has it pretty easy, and then that leaves 1 last team, and that's the Chiefs. Chiefs are also 4 and 1 at 68.42 win percentage, so they're not as high. They're not technically the highest. I should have probably put Jam here instead of Chiefs, but Chiefs, again, can finish first. They're 4 and 1. If they win, they're in. If Sylia loses once, they're in. If Legacy loses once, they're in. But does not want to be tied with Legacy alone. So if Legacy does get the 2 wins to come up, and then if the Chiefs get the 2 losses to come down, Legacy has beat the Chiefs. So they have to worry about that. Jam has to worry about that too, as well, because if Legacy does get 2 wins, Legacy will have the head-to-head on Jam Gaming as well. So if that's the case, like, Legacy's looking kind of pretty for that, as long as it's no one else is tied there. So that's a situation that can happen. And that's most of the playoff scenarios, guys, for OCE. A little bit simpler, but at the same time a little bit harder because the tiebreakers are a little bit different. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Good luck to all teams, and I'm excited to watch the PAX final. And I'm excited to get 2 teams out to Washington, D.C. We can finally talk about it. East Coast land, baby. I don't have to fly that far. I'm excited. I might be able to get some family out there, so that'd be kind of cool. But I'll see you guys at the World Championships, and I'll see you for more North America and Europe coverage until then. And love you all, and we'll see you later. Bye.